I think the problem that we're facing now after the merger or the attempted merger that's just taken place is that it's really changed the landscape for pharmaceutical M&As forever. I think whereas in the past there was an expectation that pharmaceutical companies would increasingly increase in size, and there'd be maybe 6 or 7 big companies towards the end of the decade. I think that now is a big question mark over that. And I think one of the key issues here is that previously it was very much a decision of the market, and PR was focused around persuading the various stakeholders, the shareholders, etc., as to the merits of the takeover bid from one side or the other. The thing that's the real game changer here, and the thing that's really changed the landscape, is the fact that the government decided to take a much more active role in the decision, whereas in the past it's taken a laissez-faire approach to really big mergers in the past. And that really, I think, means that there is a question mark over whether there will be another major takeover in this sphere in the future. I think we may find that despite the fact that each of these companies are truly international, we might say that AstraZeneca is a UK-based company, they are very global organisations. But if France or Germany or the UK decide to take ownership, then I think that we're going to find a lot of retrenchment, and PR is going to have a real problem to break through. It's going to move from being very much a financially driven PR exercise to being more of a public affairs one. The problem here is that the public has always had a very ambivalent view towards the pharmaceutical industry. In this M&A, I think the public had quite a muted response, because I think they couldn't really make up their mind what the issues were. It's quite interesting that I think research, when you look at how people look at the pharmaceutical world, they see companies as being rapacious, as making money out of illness, and they're generally quite reviled. But they actually, in truth, don't care that much about the companies themselves. They're interested in, to some extent, in the products that they produce, but most of all, do they make you better or not? And I think that this again, there's a bit of a change here, in that for the first time there is something of realization that it is important to have a research-based company that is developing new drugs. There's been a lot of stories in the press recently about the risk of us, for instance, not having any new antibiotics, and having a return to some of the diseases that we used to kill vast numbers of particularly children in maybe 100 years ago and before. So I think there is an understanding we need companies to be vital and to be spending a lot of money on research and development. So I think that's a major change that's happened even in the last couple of weeks. I think we're in quite interesting times in healthcare today. Traditionally, healthcare was perceived as a sort of very paternalistic exercise in this country and in Europe, where you put all your trust in the doctor. The doctor would make the diagnosis, and he or she would tell you what treatment you needed. And there was an expectation that you would be very passive in that interchange. If you compare that with the States, where it's completely different, where the US patient says, it's my responsibility to take care of myself. I need to understand more about the drugs I use and about the tests that are being done. Hence, if you go to the States, on holiday, and you switch on the TV, and to your amazement, there'll be an advert for some new anti-cancer drug, and you think, well, how can I have the information to make a decision myself? But it is interesting, that is changing. A lot of that's been driven by communications, particularly social media and the internet. People now have access to huge amounts of information about their diseases and about treatment, and can talk about them with their friends, relatives. And the relationship, therefore, with the doctor is changing a lot. I mean, interestingly, at Three Monkeys, we recently did a survey looking at where your trusted advisor was. And certainly the older generation still very much puts their trust in the doctor. But younger people, particularly those less than 25, are increasingly saying, I'd go to the internet first. I trust what's on the internet. I trust what my friends are telling me about it. And so there's a real fundamental change in how we treat ourselves, and I think that combined with some of the big organisational changes that are going on with the NHS, etc. at the moment, and again there's a real threat, I think, that a more American system will be imposed upon us within the NHS. In the US they have these HMO systems which drive down the cost of treatment. I think that that could well happen in the UK, and that in turn will be a big PR challenge for both the government and for anybody who has anything to do with healthcare, be it medical device company, a pharmaceutical company, or medical associations in general.